welcome, Ivy.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here and chatting with you today.
In these unprecedented times that we have, living in all different places with all different people and all sorts of things going on, we can get into. But I've heard great things about you, and I am drinking black coffee, I might add, but I'm not I don't always just drink it black. And we can talk about that a little bit more because I enjoyed seeing what you talk about coffee. But let's start, if you could just introduce yourself and tell a little bit about you, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. I'm Ivy Slater. My company is Slater Success. We've been around over a dozen years. We help leaders grow and scale their organizations, their company, most importantly, their leadership. It makes an impact on everything from their teams to their marketing, their sales, their finance, and most importantly, the mindset around success. I got into this in a strange way. I had my background as I was in the printing industry for over 20 years. I had my own business for a good portion of those. I was a junior partner early on, spearheaded when that things started changing. I spearheaded the merger of that company into a $3.5 million company. That lasted for 5 years. After close to the 5th year anniversary, as things happened, that dissolved. I went into business completely on my own, and did that in New York City while I was raising my kids in New York City. In my mid-40s, I realized, like, wow, I'm not going to die a printer. There's more to me. There's more to my life. I had goals, I had dreams, I had visions, I had desires, and I make a damn good living, but I'm a printer.
Were you printing money?
No. Shockingly. No, my niche market at the time was I did an enormous amount in publishing, especially magazine publishing. And what I did is all the advertising and marketing collateral that the W magazines, Harper's Bazaar, New York Magazine, Advertising Age, Women's Wear Daily, Town and Country would use to sell to their advertisers. Very
cool. So I want to ask you a question then, because get your background a little bit, and I think it's a great example to show people that not that was old in your 40s, if it wasn't, but that at any point you can change and you can do something else, and still use the credentials, the experiences that you had to move forward. But the first I want to ask you, everybody talks about their why, or I had some people recently said they do their what and then they figure out their why, whatever. But why do you do what you do?
For a number, I will tell you a number of reasons. Why I do what I do is I truly, truly believe that we all have a right to live our dreams and achieve our goals. And it doesn't sound all that fancy, but I'm not going to go through this life not living my dreams. And any person I can help and touch to help them live their dreams and not go through life saying, I wish I had, I wish I could, if I only had, if I only could, then I'm determined to make that impact. I think that is really important to me. I truly believe in this. My why has always been build the business that I want that fits into the life I want to live.
Very cool. I just spoke to a guy who was a doctor, still does some surgeries and whatnot, but he said you'd love talking to him. It reminded me of me too. He wasn't happy being a doctor, so he switched and went into comedy and motivational speaking and all sorts of stuff because life was too short not to be happy.
It is too short not to be happy. It's too short not to be fulfilled. And any person, like I know every person I touch, any client, any conversation, when I'm speaking, if there's 100, 500, 1,000, or 10 in a room, and if I can make an impact on one person and they bring that home and into their life and all the people they touch and makes an impact on, that ripple effect will have me show up every day.
Reminds me of the Clairol commercial. I don't know if you remember that. And so on and so on and
So
so
on and so on and so on. I do.
no, um, no, that's beautiful stuff. And I'm going to ask you later about influencers, but we all are influenced and we all are influencers, whether we know it or not, to other people. So I totally get what you're saying. It's taken decades really for leaders of especially the corporate world to realize that aligning themselves with social impact is actually a good move for business, not to mention attracting the best talent who only wants to work there. So, you've been involved in business, you've been involved in creating your own success, creating a successful family, and helping others. And you've kind of answered this question, but I'd like a little bit more. And it's a little bit of a push question because it's talking about you. What differentiates you as one of the leaders who care?
I think what I hope most of us care. I really, really hope most of us care. What I bring to the table that might be different is I'm not new to it. Mm-hmm. And I've always cared. I've always aligned myself with a variety of different, if it's nonprofits, if it's social impact, if it was back in the day when my client, I used to have a policy as a printer, all the organizations my clients were involved in, I was like, I can't say no, yet I do need to be in business, so I can't give it all away. I do have to bring some money home for the children, and we have to put food on the table and college educations and things like that. So how do I create something that I can always say yes and to? And that's what I always did. And in those yes ands, like what thrills me more than anything is seeing my kids getting involved, seeing my children, even during high school, and and both my kids are in the workforce these days. Okay, so I'm dating a bunch of years ago, so this is not new, But daughter enters 9th grade quite a while ago, and joins the swim team, and she goes, "Mom, we're swimming for charity water." I was like, okay, so is the charity the water we're swimming in or the water we're drinking? Just give me more information, and jump forward a few years later. I'm going on a blank, blank, blank trip to, oh my goodness, she went somewhere halfway around the world, and she goes, and we're going to be working in orphanages and building a school and doing this, that, and the other thing. I was like, just tell me you're coming home, So it's not the difference. So it's not that, gee, this stuff sounds good and I'm going to hang my hat on it, or this is important. Companies today are making a huge difference, whether it be, John's Crazy Socks, who I had the pleasure of interviewing a couple of years ago, and getting to know John and Mark, the father and son, whether it be, talking to, learning more about Tom's Shoes or Warby Parker, they started setting a foundation that things were known. But there's always been great leaders who knew that they needed to get involved in more than just their jobs.
Well, you're definitely talking our language, because that's what we do. We align corporate leaders and their brand with social impact, and then that helps us to help them attract the best people. And I think you're right. There was a lot of leaders that did care before, but I had one executive I talked to recently really quick. He said, I do care, but I find myself so embroiled in the quarterly financial results. And by the time that's done, I'm working on the next quarterly financial results. So I just tell them to donate $5,000 to somewhere. And now he's actually got a chance. And he realizes that was an excuse, but he actually has got a chance because people are realizing there's bigger stakeholders than just the shareholders in the whole thing. And it does help business. So at that point, my grandparents always used to say, they were from Kiev, so it was a little bit of an accent. They'd say, as long as you have your health, that's the most important thing, right? And
you're my grandparents.
Oh, maybe we're related. Who knows? But it wasn't a line, type of thing. They meant it. and they worked really hard, but they were happy. And so with that, technology is zooming along. We have a pandemic that doesn't go away. So we thought we had our hands full. We got social injustice finally hitting a tipping point at an interesting time with everything else going on. So how do you view how our awareness is out there as leaders and just people, whether we're at work or at home or in our community? What do you think that's looking like and going to look like?
I think we're waking up as a society, or at least dear Lord, I hope we are. We're waking up to it. We're waking up as a society. And if I'm putting this out there and then the universe says, okay, she says that. So we're actually going to do that. As we wake up more and more as a society, we get that in order to receive, we have to give. And giving is not just about monetary. It's about giving from the heart. It's about giving from the mind, giving a bit from the pocketbook, doing good for others, even if that's listening, lending an ear when somebody needs to talk.
Right.
That doesn't mean giving advice, but it means lending an ear. If it means doing something small for your neighbors, we've all been hunkered down at home now for months. So what are you doing in your own community? How are you reaching your own neighbors? Are you, we're being really careful and we're social distancing, but are you calling people up and you see not how their business is, but how they are faring?
Yeah.
Leading with a heart and then following it with the actions.
Yeah, you're that's why we have you on a Leaders Who Care series, apparently, because you know what's important. So what role do you see business leaders who care playing with respect to, because what we find when we're attracting talent to these companies that we're aligning with social impact, they're not, young people especially, they're not looking to give up their money in exchange for, a nice place to work. They know they can get both. So they want to have their financial well-being taken care of, as well as their physical and their mental well-being taken care of, to go work at a place. So what role do you see the leaders you talk to, what role do you see them playing to be able to, give and share and be those three types of well-being for their people?
I think great leaders today are actually, reference what I said before, they're actually listening. The younger generation in the workforce really do they really do care. Mm-hmm. They care about making a difference. They're going to put themselves out for cycle for survival. They're going to put themselves out for a walk for the cure. We just had a Dress for Success, which is an organization I've been involved with for over a dozen years. Yeah. Everybody's virtually walking. They're actually going to do it. They care that their organization is behind something. So when they're looking at organizations, it's the stuff they're actually researching. Right. And yes, the companies have to pull through. If you're doing well, pay well. If you have missions, you have values, let your people know it. Don't keep it in the C-suite.
Right.
Let it trickle down into the entire organization, including if they're with the good old days when they were mailrooms. The person who is delivering that information to all the desks in the office are the biggest contributors of sharing that mission and those values.
Yes, you're so right on. Not to name drop, but I was with Richard Branson in London late last year, and we're not drinking buddies yet, but I did spend some time with him, and we talked about something very interesting. We talked about, when was the last time you heard someone say that they're proud of where they worked? And I remember as a kid, I heard people say they were proud of where they worked. Now, different era, different scenarios, but to your point, they want, and you're right, they research, they won't take a job if you're not making a difference or just donating money. And they kind of want to be proud of, hey, my company, we're involved in this and this and that, right?
They want to be involved. They don't just want to know that the company, we give, $5,000 a quarter to whatever, or, on our brand, we back this. They want things that they can get involved in. They want to be part of the difference. And the younger generation is looking for that. It's important to them. I see it with my own kids in the workforce.
Yeah, isn't it brilliant? Because we wanted to make a difference. And I think every young generation wants to make a difference. But I think there is, you're right on the money, a difference in that they're really even more actively engaged and making decisions and holding accountable, even as consumers, companies or leaders of those companies, certainly, for what they're doing or not.
You know, it's interesting. I worked with a global corporation not that long ago, leaving names out of it.
Yeah.
And when I had some early meetings with them, and I asked the questions, I said, tell me about your millennial and younger workforce. Well, they don't get business yet. I'm like, they are business today.
Yeah.
They're going to be running this company in a blink of an eye. How are you assimilating? How are you listening to them? What are you doing about this? What are your actions? You know, what processes and do you have in place? You know, what are they talking about? And they're like, you know, the way our board sees it is, and I'm like, oh guys, we have so much work to do.
No, it's an interesting point because we have a program we recommend to clients called Nonflict. I'd love to actually tell you about it. And it handles resolution way differently and whatnot. Candidates do research this stuff. And for example, women, let's say, where they want to know that there's a safe space to be who they are and ask for promotions and talk and whatever. And when you see a company actually has a program like a Nonflict that preempts, conflict basically, and allows you a safe space, they make a decision right there that that company is a better place to go because they actually have a program in place to allow me a safe space to talk.
And they're encouraged. You know, that's the difference is they don't have to worry that there's going to be a problem because they already know there's a solution. And that's one of the keys. You know, yes, there are always potential problems with different personalities in the same department.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people are different. One of the reasons we like to hire people who are different in the same department is for a different perspective, different points of view, different qualities, assets, you know, the whole thing. But knowing that every so often you kind of go like this a little bit and know there's a way to work through that without somebody being on top and bottom.
Yeah, you know, I've worked a lot in sports, and it's funny how the championship teams didn't have all wonderful, beautiful seasons of no disagreements along the way. But what they did see was a commitment to get their goal, same thing. So I think you're right on. So one question, it's probably a way longer answer than I have time for, but this is an interesting moment in time. One client told me it's almost biblical if it was 1,000 years ago. What's going on? Isn't this an opportunity to make real dramatic change in our systems? And what do you think about that? And how, again, we would engage with each other for these dramatic changes?
So I will say 20 years at a printing plant. So I'm going to respond with, oh yeah, it's time to make this change. And it is an opportunity to make the change now. Every time you have a business disruption, okay? Now, a business disruption currently is looking like a global pandemic, okay? Business disruptions do come in various forms, just they don't all have to be global pandemics, thankfully. Okay? But every time you are looking at a business disruption, you're looking at an opportunity and possibility for business. But it's for the people who have their eyes open and who are looking to connect to it that power through this. You know, not the people I refer to who like do the ostrich effect, where you bury your head in the sand and say, wake me when it's over. Be that as it may, so because we have the ability to connect to possibility and opportunity, we have the ability to create change right now.
So quick answer, you got kids, so you appreciate this. Pretend I'm a graduate, high school or college, and didn't go to graduation. My girlfriend's pissed off at me because we couldn't go to prom and this and that and the other. And I come to you and say, oh my God, what now? What next?
my question to them, well, what do you really want in the world? What do you want in your world, to be more specific? What do you want in your world? What's that important to you? What the blank are you going to do about it?
I love it. You must drink black coffee.
I actually, believe it or not, I'm a latte drinker.
Me too.
One really, really nice fancy one a day.
I'm drinking black coffee now, but I also love lattes. So, and I encourage everybody to go to your LinkedIn or look you up for the whole authenticity of having coffee together, because it's really quite cool. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark, for having me. This has been a pleasure. And, may today's chat make a difference to at least one person, and we'll have that ripple effect.
Ditto. Right on.